Well, Amy and I want to do our opening together this week, and we wanted to do a top 10 list. Well, one of us wanted to do a top 10 list. The other one wanted to do a top 100 list. It's been a pretty tough 10 days for me. I had mentioned to Amy, and I'd mentioned to you guys the videos that I made following the incident at the Meadows last Wednesday. They were tough. They were tough to make, but it allowed me to get a lot off my chest. And I noticed a couple of the drivers that I know pretty good still, and I just don't have a better word than still, because it's always going to be present, and it's always going to bother everybody, and it's always going to sneak up on you sometimes. And I feel myself trying to get back into the swing of things, trying to understand that you can't make sense of how the world works, and fair isn't always fair, and unfair isn't always unfair, and you just have to be able to accept that and move on, I think. And it's a tough thing to do, but making those videos helped me a lot, I think. And when I see a number of the drivers that I know real well, and I've just been paying closer attention to how people are, because I know how I felt, and had I not been able to talk about that stuff in an open way, I think I would have been in a different state. So I've been trying to watch all the other guys that are really, really close, especially like Chris Lem's super close with Hunter, and a really, really nice guy, and Ronnie, and just everybody, just to see how they are, because I know how I felt and how I feel. So myself, I'm trying to get over all this stuff and get past it. I guess you never really truly get past it. It's just there, right? It's just always there. And having a family, having Amy and the kids and everybody around, and being able to talk to you has helped a lot. So again, thank you for that. We did get back to the swing of things yesterday with training the babies, and man, what a fantastic day we had training. I don't think, we always have horses that make breaks, but I don't think anybody trained bad. I can't look at anyone, like I know you went with the little guy in the end in New York, but that's just wrinkles, right? That's just wrinkles, and he'll get through that. I'm so happy with the way the horses look right now. Amy and I sat down before we were going to do the opening video, before we were going to talk about the 2-year-olds, and really just looked at a number of the videos, except for the first set you've been waiting to watch. We looked at a number of the videos again, and watched specific horses, how they were moving, how they were acting, how they were, how they were doing their work. And a lot of really, really nice horses for the first part of April, that's for sure. So we had a great week. Who did you go with yesterday in New York? Millie was good. Mm-hmm. Who else did you go with?
Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with Rico Tubbs. It's the first time I've
Rico
ever gone
Tubbs.
with him.
Yeah, Rico Tubbs. So, as I said, I was really, really happy. I had a great email from somebody. And I forget about this. We talk all the time about horsemanship, right? How we do things, how I do things. I'm 48. I don't know if you know that or not, but I'm 48. You're aware? I'm 48, and I've been around a long time too. So when people start talking about in the old days, I actually do remember some of the old days, and some of the things we did. And Joel, who always is good for a good email, messaged me and he said, I was surprised. Now I'm paraphrasing. He said, I was surprised to hear that you rely on the way the horses train to diagnose soreness or lameness. And again, in the old days, we used to have rub their knees. You could tell if they were warm. You could tell if they were sore in their feet and their ankles, which is true. But the reality is, it's April. Every 2-year-old's knees are sore, to one extent or another. They might not bother them that much. You might be able to get through it. But you'll see horses. A horse that I can, Steph's Hope, reminds me so much of. I think there's a dog. Reminds me so much of Sweet on Pete. People forget, we forget, maybe you forget how Sweet on Pete was, how hard she was to manage from March to July when we got her racing, because her knees bothered her quite a bit too. And this filly reminds me a lot of her. Now, in response to Joel, I said just the same thing, that all the 2-year-olds, their knees, you're like, we just want to be careful because their knees are closing up. Their knees don't close up until the end of their 3-year-old year, into their 4-year-old year sometimes. Very rarely you'll see a 2-year-old and those knees are closed right up. It doesn't work that way. So you're always tinkering with their shoeing. The other thing that never happened in the old days, you never trained them that hard. You never trained them that fast. You would never say, June 15th, I want to have the horses qualified. Can we get them there? How do we get them there? How are the horses feeling? How are they doing? Because you can't qualify a horse and have it effective in the stakes this day and age training the way we used to do. Double headers, triple headers sometimes. Go out and train the horses in the race bike in 210. Like just stuff that we don't do anymore. We just don't do that. I got away from double headers a long time ago because I felt that with the speed we're going this day and age, to prepare them and train them double headers, there just wasn't enough recovery time and the horses end up getting sore. I just always had issues with splints, curbs, knees, horses, lines here and there. We don't do that anymore. We train and I never talked to Joel very much about this. We train at 1.5 miles twice a week. And we do that right up until qualifying. In a lot of the cases, the first time these horses will ever see 2 trips is on or around qualifying day. Ever. It's always 1.5 miles. And
even then, we just jog them first trip, usually.
We'll start later on, you'll start going a little bit faster and a little bit faster until you get down around the first lap in 1:30, 1:25, and then you'll go your mile. And I remember the first year we did it. And we did it because I felt that the horses just were not going to stay sound or weren't staying sound. We had a lot of horses that we had to back off with in May because we had started 2 trips and it just seemed like it was too much, or double headers. It was just too much. And I remember saying to myself, I don't know if this is an appropriate amount of work for them. And the only way to truly know was at the end of the year, do the horses fizzle out a little quicker than the other ones? Do they get tired quicker than the other ones? Do they not come back good? These are all things that we're looking for. And it's hard because every stable has that. We have a lot of 3-year-olds that didn't come back as good as we'd hoped. But every barn has those 3-year-olds, right? Every barn, every professional sports team, there just can't be progression all the time, right? Some of those horses have reached their ceiling. Some of those horses have got as far as they're going to go. And at that point, they're the same as they were at 2, or in some cases, not even as good as they were at 2. So to Joel, in the old days, we would never, ever have a 2-year-old trotter trotting 51 and 4. It just wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have... you wouldn't look at a sire stakes season and say, my trotter has to trot. Think about it. Arrowhead Hanover trotted in 53 and 4 on a 5/8, his 3rd or 4th lifetime start, and he was a fringe player in the sire stakes. Think about that. For him to win the Standardbred at Delaware, a 2-year-old trotter on a 1/2 mile track, he had to trot in 55 and 3. So, preparing our horses for the races is not as easy as it is. And what I mean by, I'm not waiting for the horses to get sore. I'm asking all of our trainers and all of our riders, I say to you, Jace, both Jasons, everybody, for the people that go with these horses every week. Now, if you went with Rico for the first time, I can't expect you to know, but Eric went with Rico a lot, right? So if Eric goes with Rico 3 weeks in a row, I need to know that he's the same all 3 weeks. And if he isn't, if he's on a line a little bit more, running in, get out of gear a little bit more, I need to know, and we need to address that. So that is what I'm talking about when I talk about the training trips and how important they are. I need them assessed week to week. And for Joel, listen, I am not from the same era as you, but the end of that era was the start of where I learned to take care of horses also. I do remember doing the harness up with the leather straps long before quick hitches came in. It's true, I did, and the thimbles on the end. Yes, I remember all those. I am very aware. I can do that harness up if you want me to. But that is not, this is not then. So when it comes to the babies, and the way I left my email to Joel was simple. I say it all the time, just jokingly, but not really. The horses do talk. You just have to listen. You have to look and pay attention to what's going on. They'll let you know if they're not as good as they were, if they're a little bit better, they're a little bit worse, whether that be shoeing or whether that be skeletal, right? If their knees are starting to hurt them, their ankles, maybe they got a, neuromancer. You were worried about neuromancer, his foot. That day he jumped in his foot, he was sore on his foot. He was awesome yesterday, right? And these are the things that we're looking at. So when I talk about indicators like that, I'm not waiting for the horses to get sore and say, oh, there, the horse is sore. No, but I need to be in front of it. And the best way to be in front of it, I can feel their knees, but that doesn't mean that their knees are bothering them, right? So no, I guess that's not true. If one has more heat than the other, then obviously where there's smoke, there's usually fire. But I want to see them on the track doing their work. And more importantly, the most important thing about this time of year, and I said this yesterday about feeding, the training was great yesterday. How did they eat?
I was surprised.
How did they eat?
Surprised.
How do they seem now? Saturday is different because we don't jog them on Sunday. But the next day, Monday, if you have any horses with any soreness, they trained on Saturday and had Sunday off, you are going to see it Monday morning. So my message to all our caretakers and all our riders and trainers, pay very, very close attention on Monday morning. So that was I always like to talk about the emails that come in sometimes, and obviously a ton of really, really nice emails from people last week in regards to what had happened at the Meadows, and I appreciate all of those. I do. They go a long way, and when it comes to the racing itself, we had a great week. We've racing coming up this week, but I told everybody Greatest Ending actually raced good. He's not even been remotely.
I didn't know he could get around that track free-legged.
Oh, he won it. I won him 52-3 or 53 with him free-legged. Yeah, so they show the races on TV.
Like
if you just tune into RTN, you can watch.
I did. That's how I saw.
So Greatest Ending, does tie up. His feet do bother him. These are all things that are a real problem with Greatest Ending, and. Stacy went through it too. She did a great job. His feet look amazing. The horse looks good. And having the outside off 2 weeks after tying up, after all this and this and this, he actually raced good. Now he's got the 2-hole this week. I would be thoroughly surprised if he wasn't headed to the winner's circle on Tuesday. But you still have to race the race, and we'll see how he does on Tuesday. A horse that really shocked me. Did you watch Blue Ventura's race the other night?
No.
Oh. I see how it is.
What day was that?
Wednesday. No, it was Tuesday.
I was at baseball.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't have your phone with you? It did. You did not have your Wi-Fi on?
No, I had to go grocery shopping.
I see.
During baseball.
They don't have any Wi-Fi in the shopping mall? No?
Okay.
Okay. Blue Ventura raced good, got away close, and then when I put him in gear down the back, I still haven't kicked the earplugs on the horse. And he raced very, very good. Now, he beat a maiden claimer. I'm well aware of who he beat. And he's up a little bit. This week in class and drew the 8-hole. But quite frankly, as strong as he was the other day, I'm looking for another really, really good performance from him. I had a lot of people message me and say, "Oh my God, I hope we don't lose Blue Ventura." You have to understand, horses in general. You have horses that are worth a lot of money up near the top. Then you have that middle where there's only so many people looking to pay top dollar for the middle, and then you have the bottom. People buy them, but when you're looking at a claiming price coming in off his lines last week for somebody to reach in and grab him for $25,000, it's just not likely. And even this week, he raced good the other day, but 56 in a maiden claimer, there's 100 horses that can do that in North America. And for you to jump in and buy him again this week, I just don't see it happening. And if you do, fill your boots. I mean, it's the same with Irresistible Sun. I liked Irresistible Sun, one of my favorite horses to drive, but quite frankly, when it comes to Irresistible Sun, there's that ceiling, right? I thought he would come back and be an open trotter, and he did not get there. And the class that he beat up on the night that they claimed him was a condition claimer. He raced, they made that, made that open 2, and he raced good. Take nothing away from him, but that class was never available to us. It hadn't been written for a year and a half. The open 2 trot at Northfield, it just was never filled. He won that class by a head and looked good. Then he raced last week from the outside and got beat up a little bit. So, when it comes to Blue Ventura, we need to be able to be aggressive with our entries. We need to be able to race our horses where they can win. And out of the 8-hole, that will be the great equalizer this week, I hope. Now, he does get off the car really, really well. I don't want to stir him up and make front. He doesn't race as good in the front. I'd like to drop him over somewhere close, 2, 3, 4 again, and sit with him and race him in a similar manner to the way he raced last week. He was very good last week, and I hope and expect he has a good mile again this week. Century Legion was good. He's just such a tough horse to race. He's so hard on himself because he gets hot and he gets wound up, and then he makes it hard on me too. And I just said I'd had enough the other day. He got off the car on the right foot, and I just let him sail right to the front. And just Aaron was the favorite and went to pop out of the 2-hole, and no, I wasn't having any of that. Get back in, and I just let him rock. And he just got beat at the wire, and quite frankly, you're going to see a very similar mile. 8-hole, you're like, oh my God, he drew 8, 8, 8. He's always drawing 8. I don't mind the 8-hole with him. I'd rather the 8-hole. If you said you have 2 options, the outside or the inside, I'll take the 8-hole, please. Thank you. With this particular horse, it's easier to get him away from the 8-hole than it is the rail. So he will leave 8 again this week, but he raced good. What about our girl? What about Melisandre?
Don't.
Melisandre. So Melisandre was very good. Yeah, it's hard because you get people message me and said, oh, they went 2, 1, and 4. It'd be nice to see a little speed. I don't need to see a little speed. I'd like to see her progressively get better. I almost sent her to Mohawk this week.
I know.
Literally almost put her on a truck to Mohawk. I think at some point, once we get a couple more starts in her, I'd like to see her stretched out on a bigger track. Now, we do have Lexington coming, but I don't know how good she is. That's the one thing about her. You can never tell how talented she is. Maybe she's going to have a mark of 2, 1, and 4 for a while, but I think there's a pretty good little horse in there. But the one thing, she doesn't usually pass.
I know.
And she blew by everybody the other day and was sharp as a tack going through the wire. She was good. Really, really good. Now, this week, I'd like to get her away 3rd or 4th and give her a little more work to do. Just a little. And this is the exact same way that James and I approached. Mostly James drove him, but we talked about it when 3 Point Blue Chip was racing. You know, you have to leave and sit, and then he ended up just getting better and better and better. He was a bigger, stronger, powerful colt, whereas Melisandre is a little bit of a fat slob sometimes, but she is defined well. She's got a nice rump on her now. Her shoulders are filled out really, really nice. She's got a proper attitude. The other day, we came out of the 8-hole, and she's like looking around. I tapped her on the tail. She switched her tail a little bit, but then she crossed over right to the front, and I let one go. And she was sat very politely. And around the last turn, she started to grab the bit like she wanted to get at them. And then when I fed her the racetrack, she did. She drove away from them. She was the reason I like her so much. I wish we didn't pay so much for her because the expectations are still there. They're lingering of what she needs to be, what she has to be, what she should be. But if you strip all that away and just look at her as a racehorse, she's a really nice horse to drive. Just put her nose right on the gate. Boom. Right on the gate as soon as it starts moving. She doesn't do a thing wrong. If you want to leave, just give her a head and chirp to her coming off the car. I'm sure taking her back won't be a problem. Like getting her away 3rd, 4th will be very easy. The thing that's so handy about her, you can get her away wherever you want because she can come blasting off the car. I know she can. Or you can just say, okay, I want to get away right there. Ching. And away you just drop her in and away you go. And she's just very, very nice to drive in that regard. So I truly hope she gets better and better and better and better and better. I'd love to see her with a mark of 55 throughout the summer, of 56. I'd love to get her down to Kentucky. I just think she's getting better every single week. What was your take on Melisandre? Now, hold on. Did you watch the whole race?
I did.
Or did you just watch the video that
I texted you immediately after.
Okay, I'm just checking. You watched the entire race?
That is the only time you've ever sat behind a 70-1 shot.
That's
when
not
you
true.
were 1-1.
That is not true.
I
Completely
said,
false.
I wanted to know if you had a rash.
So you went back and looked at all of my 28,000 drives, and you looked to see if I sat behind.
I can extrapolate what I've seen.
What? What have you seen?
No one sits behind a 70-1 shot.
You just gotta be patient sometimes, Amy. Just as a driver, you gotta be patient sometimes.
I understand why you didn't move, but nobody else does.
I was just being me. I was being patient. That's all. Just going easy. Don't always got to be out and going. Sometimes just a little bit of patience goes a long way.
Yeah. I'm sure the people that bet on you were thinking that.
I'm sure that the people that wagered on her had every faith in my ability to get her out of there. Every faith. So Melisandre was very good. Memory and Imagination won. We sent Mountains for All down to, or sending, I don't know if he left last night, down to Miami Valley with Stacy. It's a great spot for him. I'd said to Jason, listen, we can enter him in the 30 again. Now, be very clear. We could have sent Irresistible Sun and raced him in that optional 10 claim, or the one that Memory and Imagination won in, and he probably could have been okay. I think Memory and Imagination is the better horse, but it's super close. And Jason actually got a little offended, I think, the other day. I told him, I said, I think Mounts for All is better than the other two. I think he's a better looking horse. He's more durable, and I think he's got more of an upside. I think we've seen the best races from Memory and Imagination, at least for now. Maybe he'll jump up in a little while. Irresistible Sun, the same type of thing. He already trotted in 52 and 4 as a 3-year-old. I thought he'd be an open trotter by now. He just doesn't seem... He's just not quite there. And he may get there someday. Who knows? But Mounds for All, I think to put him in for 30, you would have to look at that horse with 6 lifetime wins and say, you know what? I think that horse would beat the 35s in Miami Valley. And you know what? You'd be right. So I think racing him in that 30 claimer another time, and he can fit the 30 and then go down there. Still got one more win. Now, here's my take. If we bring him down to the 35 and he isn't a decisive winner, well, then we can come back up and win the 30 once more and then go back down there again. That would make more sense to me. But I believe Mounds for All is ready to probably do some damage in that. Actually, I think it's a 45. 45 claimer, non-winners at 10. That's in Miami Valley. That's my thoughts on that. Memory and Imagination was very good the other day. He's got 2 more wins, and then what? I think he gets to go back. He might be able to go to Yonkers. He might be able to go to Poconos, Philadelphia. I don't know if there's a whole lot more for him. But then again, Scioto's opening up in May, so I have no idea what Scioto's going to have in store for him.
He can't race in the ladder that Tiger used to race in Mohawk.
I'm not a real big fan of the up and down. He's not as good as Tiger was. He'll never be as good as Tiger was. So
I don't know what classes those are.
Well, the numbers are 9,000, 12,000, 18,000. They could, but you have to tell me this. Which one's he going to win? Because if you're telling me he can only win the non-winners 9 or 12, and he has to go up and race in the 18, 24, and then make your way down, for all I see is 60% of your starts being a waste. Now, he can maybe do that at Scioto also. We can see this summer. He's a good horse. We'll see what kind of horse he is. But for right now, Memory and Imagination is fine exactly where he is. Admiral Dio was decent the other day. Shouldn't have got beat. He was closing in when I raced him and then put him on the front. He can be a bit of a coward sometimes. He's okay. He's a decent horse with a decent amount of upside. But at the same time, he needs to do more than he's done. When you look at him in the barn, he's a gorgeous animal. And then for him to go out and race in a condition claimer is a little frustrating, but that's the way the world is, right? He is what he is, but I think he's in a good spot to do some damage this week. As I said, Mounds for All was a winner the other day. I think he's going to do some good work for us in Southern Ohio. It's a good spot for him to be also. We moved Spitfire back to Ontario. He'll qualify Monday.
That's the nicest looking horse we have.
Spitfire? Oh, he's gorgeous. He's unbelievably gorgeous. Unbelievably gorgeous. And I just think that Spitfire was on the cusp of getting back into the swing of things in Ontario, and then obviously with that stake race in Ontario, it emptied out the Open, so there was nowhere for those horses to race. Now, there's no cakewalks there. You're looking at, he has to go back. Now, he fits the class below the Open, but what are you doing? But when he goes back to Ontario, he gets to race in the class. As I said, he fits a class below the... What are you doing over there?
I'm just seeing how Tiger's doing.
Oh, my God.
Not very well.
Okay, that's great. Can we do a trip down memory lane another time? Can we talk about Spitfire Overseas right now, do you think?
Look at this race.
Do you want me to...
11115.
Do you want me to confiscate your phone?
No.
Okay. So Spitfire will go back. I mean, when you look at Fellows' horses over there, the one, Amigo Volo, they're all in to qualify tomorrow together. Amigo Volo, Spitfire, and the good horse of Fellows. What's his name? The guy.
Park?
Yeah, Lincoln Park. And not to mention...
He's prepping for the Elite Lop.
The Elite Lop, yeah. And not to mention, you also have the horses that were in the Fashion Frenzy and the Horseman Aries that was second the other night. So it's a tough group, but I think Spitfire Overseas, he's one where if he can't quite do in the Open, he definitely can do in the class just below it. So there's an argument for him to be over there. I think he's a really, really nice horse, going to do some good work for us. 3 Point Blue Chip was better the other day. Much, much better. He races good at the Meadows. He likes it at the Meadows, and he actually raced really well. If he wasn't so short, he wins for sure. I'd say if he draws anywhere, well, he gets off the gate well anyway. So if he catches a favorable class next week, I think he'll be very close to heading to the winner's circle. One of the most impressive trips of the entire week, aside from Melisandre, was Trosa. We talked about Trosa in our Sunday video. Broke the hobble. If you watch close, you can see where he paces right out of the hobble. They said it's very weird. On the hobble loop at the front, there's a buckle that comes up around that far from the hobble, and it attaches like a belt to the hobble hanger. it snapped right off and fell down, and Trosa paced right out of the hobble and finished the mile with the hobble not attached to his front leg, right front. And you can see when they go into the wire, James he can't see anything. You can see him look down, and he just pulls him up, goes over to the paddock. The hobble snapped right off. So a really incredible mile from Trosa also. He looked good. Manhattan Money looked very, very good in the mud last night. And I'll end with a girl that was fourth. I don't generally talk about the horses that maybe don't hit the board or don't win or don't look impressive. Gorgeous package. I love this filly. Everybody loves this filly except for Amy. She wasn't really high up.
That's not fair. I didn't like her last year, so that's forever.
No, you like her now, though?
I don't not like her.
That's not really a stamp of approval.
I don't think it's fair to tell everyone
you told
I hate her.
No, but you told me you didn't want to go with her last year when you were training her.
Yeah, 1 year ago. Yeah.
Was it a full year ago?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 year ago Amy didn't like her, but now she does. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. What? Are you giving me a finger? Is that what you're doing? I think you were. So gorgeous package. I joke about it with Amy last year. She was just a squirrel to train. She was all over the track. And Amy said, I don't want to go there anymore. She scares me. That's what she said. So gorgeous package. Turned out to be an incredibly good filly for us last year. And in her first start back, she really didn't feel that great. She trained great. So it's not that she didn't come back good, but in her first start, she wasn't. Dr. Lattès had done some work on her. I got away in the same position I did the week before, and I cut her loose. Totally different horse this week. Her last quarter says 28 flat. But trust me when I tell you, her last eighth was 27 speed or faster. She was flying at the wire and raced very, very well. So I was happy, coming off such a devastating week the week before to have her horses. It wasn't like, looks like money finished sixth because he didn't, had the outside in a handicap race at Miami Valley and actually didn't race that well. I shouldn't say that he didn't race that well. He didn't get off the gate that well, got stogged in traffic and was...
Stogged?
It's a word.
I don't think so.
It's a word. You want to play Scrabble? Got stogged in traffic. And it just wasn't a good day for him. He was washed out. He didn't race good. Arson... I didn't drive him the greatest last Sunday. I underdrove him last Sunday, which might happen again tonight, quite frankly. I don't imagine I'll get locked in with him with a 7-horse field, but a different dynamic for sure tonight. But some of our big guns did not come out, did not get a chance to race last week, and they will this week. I was happy. I was very, very happy. Melisandre, she's undefeated this year. She won her qualifier, and she won her first race. Memory and Imagination was good.
She's got a ways to go.
Yeah, Mounds for All is 3 for 3 this year, and a lot of horses just look good right now. I'm really excited about Arrowhead Hanover this week, races on Wednesday, and Gymboree races. It's going to be super tough for me to get from the Meadows. I think I had like 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The Meadows to Northfield Park. It will be almost a magic trick to be able to drive Arrowhead Hanover. I looked. The race, the 11th race on Friday this week went off at 4:27. That means you're off the track at 4:35 with your gear. The second race goes at 6:22 from
0% chance it goes at 6:22.
It's supposed to go at 6:22. But I don't know if you're doing the math or not. That gives me an hour and 50 minutes to get. And if you're moving, that's not stopping at Starbucks. That's sitting in the middle lane, maybe doing 9 miles over the entire way. You might be able to do it in an hour and 45. So it might actually be 5 minutes I have. But I want to drive Arrowhead, and I want to drive Gymboree. So we'll see. One of those tricky situations where it can't get much closer, but I am going to try and drive both. So that is the week. What was your highlight of the week, honey?
My highlight of the week?
Yeah. Did you have one? Or? No?
I don't really.
No highlights. No, we can look back and say, this one's made me happy this week. This was impressive. None of the training trips. What about Maury schooling?
Yeah, I didn't think you wanted to talk about him since you never do.
I always talk about Maury, but Maury's not qualified yet. He schooled good. Everybody was happy with Maury.
I'm glad I didn't go with him.
He was a little warm, was he? Oh,
apparently.
Maury? Well, I told him.
And there was, did I tell you, there was literally like 2 trailers Like, I thought schoolers had like 4 horses in them at Northfield.
They usually do only have 3 or 4, but now that you start getting closer to spring, a lot of the people that are out in the farm tracks are getting the 3-year-olds in to get them trained up.
Do you remember last year when we schooled, we picked like 6 horses that we thought would be scared of the gate? And remember I went with him? And I felt like I went like a 28-second quarter off the car. I feel like that's what he was like, on Thursday.
He'll be fine. You gotta know.
He hasn't been that hot.
My hope is that we can get our horses in Thursday at the Meadows, again, starting at race 5 or so. That would be perfect. I can qualify Maury and a couple of horses that we have to go with this week. That will be my hope. But as I said to Amy, if they put the open trot on Monday, then he'll be getting another catch driver for his qualifier this week. We could school him. Well, we'll qualify him unless we decide to school him. We could school him slowly, like 2-5, and then go a mile. I can take him over to the Meadows and qualify him on the Tuesday. That's a possibility, but we'll see. First things first, got to change his shoes up front. He was touching a jack. He was touching a shin. We can work on that, and then we'll have him back in this week. So, was that your highlight? The schooler of Maury?
Yeah, I guess.
You've talked 3% of this entire video.
Well, you never shut up.
Oh, really? That's not very nice. Well, I'm asking you to talk there, dirty socks.
They're not dirty.
Well, the right one is. It's filthy.
No, it's not.
It isn't? What's the brown on the white? What?
Oh my god.
Are they at least they're the same sock? That's amazing. No, tell the truth.
Done?
Tell the truth. I've seen you go with 2 different socks.
Never.
That's true.
Because I don't want to listen to you.
So, highlight of the week. Come on.
Highlight, obviously, Melisandre.
Okay, Melisandre. All right. Well, I don't know what your highlight of the week was, but now you know what mine was. You know what Amy's was. Really happy with the way things are shaping up with the babies. You know, you never know that first sunny day where you're really going to drop the hammer on them. And the horse, it just looks so good to me. Perfect thought was, I hadn't gone with her in a long time, and she looked a little flat her last 2 or 3 training trips, but she was back this week for sure. So we'll do that. We're going to talk about the 2-year-olds. We're going to do a top 10 list. Right now, Amy and I, a dueling top 10 list for you.